while we set the timer, because I'm not going to leave it recording while we set the timer. Okay, answers for side A. 90, 900, 9,000, 80, 800, 8,000, 80,000, 70, 700, 7,000, 70,000, 700,000, 20, 300, 320, 40, 500, 540, 370, 840, 8,400, 84,000. Okay, number 23. 73,000, 600, 6,000, 60,000, 6,500, 65,200, 34,200, 80,000, 800,000, 860,000, 867,000, 492,000, 340, 6,290, 9,400, 23,800, 47,000, 294,000, 17,400, 285,000, 95,100, 129,000. Okay, answers for side B. 80, 800, 8,000, 70, 700, 7,000, 70,000, 60, 600, 6,000, 60,000, 600,000, 30, 200, 230, 50, 400, 450, 730, 480, 4,800, 48,000. Number 23. 37,000, 500, 5,000, 50,000, 5,600, 56,200, 43,200, 70,000, 700,000, 760,000, 765,000, 942,000, 740, 2,690, 4,900, 32,800, 37,000, 924,000, 14,700, 825,000, 65,100, 192,000. All right, so let's go ahead and round this number 4 times, but we're not using the number lines, okay? So the first one says 10, round to the nearest 10,000. So I'm going to circle that place value and underline the 8. Correct? Okay, the next one. What place value does it say? So what digit will I circle? Boys and girls?
8.
The 8. And underline the 6. Okay? What's the next place value?
They have to write these in, so that's why.
Oh, you have to write the numbers? Okay, let me pause it while you write the numbers.
We only have one.
Okay, so the next one says hundreds. So what digit will I circle? 6. And I look at the 2, don't I? Yeah.
Underline the 2.
Right, underline the 2. And then in this one?
Circle the 2, underline the 5.
Okay, so I'm going to pull sticks here. And we know the rounding wrap, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to go ahead and say it. but I am going to add parts of it into how we're doing this. So the first one, Oziel, I'm going to look at the 8 to decide if the 4 stays the same or add 1. What do I need to do? Okay, so the 4 becomes a 5. Digits to the right change to 0. Very good. So 48,625 rounded to the nearest 10,000 is what?
50,000.
50,000. And a lot of times I have you write it like this, right beside it, so we know what it rounds to. I don't know if you're going to have room for that today. It's okay if you don't. Yes?
You got my stick?
Yeah. Okay. So the next one, let me pull a stick. Cody, I'm going to look at the 6 to decide about the 8.
Round up.
Okay, so add 1, the 8 becomes a 9. Now flex your muscles like a hero. Good. And what comes after that? All the other digits stay the same. Yo, you're a winner in the rounding game. So it rounds to what here? 49,000. Okay, next one. Isaac.
Oh no.
I look at the 2 to decide about the 6.
Don't add 1.
Stay the same or add 1?
Stay.
Okay.
All of the other
Digits to the right change to 0.
all the other
Digits stay the same. Good. So 48,600. All right, the last one. Are you writing it like I am? Unless you can't fit it. Fernanda. I look at the 5 to decide about the 2. Okay, good. Now flex your muscles like a hero. All the other digits stay the same. Yo, you're a winner in the rounding game. Now, 48,630. Okay, how do you feel about rounding? Pretty good? We're going to do it today in the lesson. Okay, this is a review of yesterday. This is going to help Eileen quite a bit. So, we're breaking apart the the number that ends in a 0. So 20, I can break apart into 2 times, and I'm just going to keep 31 the same. Now, I do need parentheses here. Where should I put my parentheses? The 31 and the 2. Okay? So what's 31 times 2?
62.
62 times 10 equals 620. And that would have been my 3 equal signs, but I don't have room to write it here, do I? I'll put it there and there. So this is how we did it yesterday, Eileen, okay? So, Jaden, what number will I break apart over here? The 40. What will it be? 4 times 10? Okay, so equals, equals, equals. Where do I need my parentheses? I want the 10 left at the end, right? 23 and 4. Okay. So, Jay Lee, how would I figure out 23 times 4? Should I just do this? Standard algorithm?
Yeah.
To be sure? Okay. Go ahead and figure it out. If you can't do it in your head, write it like this. 92. So 92 times 10, 920. Okay, remember I'm recording. Morgan, which number would I break apart here?
30 times 10.
And do you remember yesterday we would have written 32 times 1?
Yeah.
I'm taking that step out. Okay. So, Sergio, what's 32 times 3? I can write it like this if I need to.
96.
Are you Sergio? So what's the answer here? Okay, so let's take a look at these next ones down here. I think we're going to be able to use some of the same math, but we're going to add more zeros, aren't we? So I'm going to break apart both numbers this time. Eileen, do you have any idea how I would break apart 310? Tell her, Ryder, because you were here. 31 times 10. And 2 times 10, right? And we just kind of turned that into a math problem yesterday. Do you remember that? And then, Jesus, help me out. I'm going to keep the 31 the same and just bring it right down. We keep the 10 the same. Which two numbers am I switching?
2 and 10.
The 2 and the 10. So we already know 31 times 2. What is it?
62.
62. And Ryder, what's 10 times 10? So my answer is 6,200. Now, why are we writing this out instead of doing it in our head like the sprint?
It makes more sense, right?
No? Good try. I told you about some classes you're going to have in high school and college.
Well,
Algebra. And in algebra, you're going to have to break it apart. In fact, if you try to just write the answer for your algebra teacher, this is true, isn't it, Mrs. Lowry?
Yeah.
You're going to miss every single step. So they're going to take off like 5 if you just write the answer. So, yeah, so you've got to do it. You might as well start in 5th grade, right? Lillian, what do I need to write here?
On the 23, right?
Good. And Eileen, how would you break 40 apart? 4 times 10. Good. So then we have Jarrett. So what do I need on the next row here?
23 times 4.
Good.
10 times 10.
Good. And Lila, we already know the answer to 23 times 4, don't we? What is it? Okay, so 92 times what? Good. So the answer?
9,200.
9,200. Okay, one more. Eileen, I'm going to ask you how to break this one apart. 320. What do you think? 32 times 10. She's got it. Yeah. So you're ready to do your, probably close to ready to do your exit ticket from yesterday. Adam, what goes in the next set of parentheses? How do?
3 times 10.
Okay, 3 times 10. Now, Tyler, what do I write on the next row?
32 times 30 times 10.
Good. So we already know 32 times 3, don't we, Alan? What is it? 96. Times what, Alan? Good. So 9,600. That's pretty much yesterday, isn't it, boys and girls? Yeah. We got a little bit higher in the numbers. We got up to the millions. But that was it. Okay. This is a really good application problem. It's one of my favorite in 5th grade. So is this what you have? Okay, so let's read this. Okay, Jonas practices guitar 1 hour a day for 2 years. Bradley practices the guitar 2 hours a day more than Jonas. How many more minutes does Bradley practice the guitar than Jonas over the course of 2 years? Now my question is, how many more minutes okay? So I want to talk about how many more. Think back to second grade and third grade. When you got a word problem that said how many more, do you remember what you did?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
You subtracted, okay? You added when it said what is the total amount or something like that, right? Okay, so we know we're going to be subtracting at some point in here. I want to start by doing, I think I want to do 1 year. Okay, so I want this to be 1 year because eventually we've got to figure out 2 years, but I think it would be easier to just take it times 2 when we get the answer. What do you think?
Yeah, just
Okay, and then this one's going to be also be 1 year. Okay? So the next thing I need to figure out, who practiced more? Jonas or Bradley? Bradley. So let's put the B beside the longer tape diagram. And this first one is Jonas. J, right. Okay? So now I got to do some figuring. Let me read this again. Jonas practices the guitar 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day. So how could I figure out how many hours he practices in a year?
multiply.
Well, I mean, sure. What are you going to multiply? How many days in a year times 1 hour? How many days are in a year? So that's going to be 365 hours. Correct? Because 365 times 1 is 365. Okay? See, HRS is hours. Go ahead and write that in there so we know. That's fine if you want to write hours. Okay, now, Bradley. We've got to figure out Bradley. We know it's more. How much more is it? 2 hours a day more. So it's 3 hours. So let's divide this into thirds. And for 1 year, it would be 365 times 3, right? Okay, now let's just wait. Get that done and put your pencil down. Now, I was like you once upon a time, and I was thinking ahead, like I know a lot of you are thinking ahead, and some of you might even be trying to write it, but don't yet, okay? Because I'm going to show you the apple method of doing this, okay? Just wait. So this right here, I would have thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna add this together and subtract this. I'm going to add these together and subtract this, right? Or I could multiply this times 3 and subtract that. Find out how many more, right? Okay, I got a better idea. So don't write this, but let's take a walk down memory lane to when I taught second grade. And it was such a fun lesson. I was teaching them how to make a graph. Okay? And we were making a picture graph. And so I got some green apples. That circle's going to be my green apple. And I got some red apples. Okay? And I cut them up and I put them on plates and I let the kids try one of each. And then they had to pick their favorite. Okay? And after they picked their favorite, they had to cut out an apple out of paper, okay, and glue it on the graph. And it was a big piece of paper. We made a big graph in the classroom, okay? And almost every time, the green apples won. There were a lot more green apples than red. Just a minute. Let me keep teaching. Okay, so now we had to answer some questions about the graph. Which apples had the most votes? Green. Which apples had the least votes? Red. Oh, here's another one. How many total children voted?
17.
12 is what I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 total children voted. Okay? And then things got more complicated. Sometimes you would have a key at the bottom of your graph, and it would say 1 apple equals 2 votes. Remember that kind of stuff? So then you had to count by twos, okay? But we're not talking about that right now. Here's the question that we had a lot of. Listen, how many more children chose green apples than red?
2 more.
2 more. Did you do 7 minus 5 to get 2? 7 minus 5 to get 2? No, you did not. What did you do? You just looked at these 2 apples, didn't you? The 2 sticking out?
Yeah.
And you knew that as long as everything was all lined up evenly, you could just count the 2 sticking out and that would be your answer.
Yeah.
Well, is there any rule that says I can't do that with tape diagrams? Can I just count the 2 sticking out to figure out how many more hours Bradley practiced? Yes, I can. So which 2 are sticking out? Whoops, not on pen.
2 green apples.
Right, the 2 green apples right here. So this is my question mark. So you're going to run into this a lot. You're going to say tape diagrams, how many more? You don't do it the hard way. Do it the apple way. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we just got to figure this out. You can add them together. What else could you do? You can multiply them times 2. Whatever your method of choice is, do it down at the bottom, though, because we're going to need this space over here. Okay. So what'd you get?
730.
So 730 hours. Now, I'm not done by a long shot, because that's just 1 year. And the question says, I'm going to read the question. You ready? How many more minutes does Bradley practice the guitar than Jonas over the course of 2 years? So I have 2 things left. I have to figure out years and I have to figure out minutes. So let's do 2 years to start with. How would I figure out how many hours in 2 years?
Multiply that by 2.
Multiply 730 by 2. Okay, and I'm going to do it down at the bottom again. Or you could add it together, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the total number of hours in 2 years. Did you write that?
Yeah.
You don't get to do it in your head. You have to write it down. So I know you're focusing. Okay, so now this is what they want you to do. They want you to take 1,460 hours and change it to minutes. Anybody know how to change things to minutes?
You divide it. You multiply it.
Multiply by 60. Why did you say 60?
Because there's 60 seconds.
There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Very good. And there's 60 seconds in a minute. So we could do the same math if we were figuring out seconds and minutes, couldn't we? Okay, so here's what they want you to do. Don't write this. They want you to do this.
You don't have to multiply the zeros. You just have to drop them.
Oh, I still think there's a better way. I think we could use the distributive property. Do these numbers end in 0?
Yes.
Oh, I think we could use the distributive property then. Can't we break them apart?
Yes.
So we're going to do 1,460 times 60 like this. And then you're going to write equals, equals, equals. Go ahead. Now, Lillian, I'm going to have you help me here. How would you break this first number apart, 1,460? Times 10. Good. Okay. And Alan, how would you break 60 apart?
6 times
Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in parentheses. Right over here. Any ideas how I should put that in the parentheses? Eileen, you want to give it a try? Now remember, we want our powers of 10 at the end, so we can just add zeros. Good. Now Lillian said, you don't have to multiply the zeros, just multiply the whole numbers. She was getting ready to say that, and I interrupted her. Was she right? Yes. So we just multiply these whole numbers here. 146 times 6. Get an answer for me. I'm out of room. Ryder, get an answer for me. Let me know what it is. Shh. I think it's 876, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so 876 times what, Ryder? Times what?
100.
Good. So my answer to how many minutes?
87,600.
Minutes in 2 years. That was a really good problem. I like it. Okay. So now for the lesson. And we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to start with this part, and I'll probably have to finish recording this to an empty room. Okay, so you're going to work with your table group. Okay? And we have to figure out the population of the classroom and the school. And here are the 2 questions I'm going to ask you. How many students do we have in this class? How could I use that to estimate the total number of students in the school? Talk about it with your table group. I'm going to push pause. So how many students do you have in your class on a regular basis?
19.
19. If I estimate in 5th grade, what am I going to do? Round, okay? So I'll round 19 to what? 20. Okay? Now, the next part I can figure out easily. How many 5th grade classes do we have?
4.
So that means 5th grade has approximately
80.
80 students, or about 80 students. Are you writing this down?
Yes.
Okay? So I can use that to figure out the whole school, couldn't I?
Yes.
How many grades do we have in the school? 6.
6.
So I'm going to do 80 times 6. What's the answer?
48.
480, because I broke this apart into 8 times 10, didn't I? Okay, so I did 6 times 8, 48, add a 0 to the end, all right? So that's the whole school. That's a lot of kids, isn't it? That's a lot of germs. Okay, so I'll finish recording it to nobody. Do when I'm estimating is to do what? Round. And I'm actually going to round to the highest place value. So I will circle the first number. Okay? Now, do you remember that story I told you about my grandkids and how one of them rolled over correctly and the other one didn't, and then we ended up, and they're still both normal children. But they didn't do things at the same time when they were developing, did they? Okay? So, same thing goes here. Some of you might be ready to round these in your head. Some of you might still be writing them down, and that's okay. So I'm going to look at the 5, Brandon, to tell me what to do with the 4. So the 4 becomes a 5, and then flex your muscles like a hero. So I've got 500, correct? And then Logan, round 42. 40. And can most of you do that in your head? Okay, so this is going to be 500 times 40. Now, your sprint today, okay, you get to do it in your head, so we might as well do it in our heads now, but we have to be careful. So I'm going to draw this to connect those two. What's 5 times 4?
40.
Okay, then I've got 1, 2, 3 zeros, so that's 20 times 1,000, right? Because I have to count all my zeros. So that gives me what number? I'm going to pull a stick. Yasmin, what number for my answer? So
20,000.
20,000. Very good. So did I take out all that writing that we did yesterday? All the parentheses and everything? And I just did this in my head. Now, what mistake could kids maybe make here? Eduardo?
They're gonna forget to add the zero.
On the 20. Yeah. So they might accidentally write 2,000 for their answer. Okay?
And then that's an
All right, so let's round the next one. Okay? Round first, then multiply. That's our strategy. Caitlin Johnson. I'm going to look at the 5 to decide about the 4. Stay the same or add 1?
add one.
So this is 5. Now flex your muscles like a hero. Digits to the right change to 0.
All the other digits are the same.
And boys and girls, what do I round 42 to?
40.
I like to say it like that. So I've got 5,000, right, times 40. And I've got to get an answer here. Okay, now wait a minute. This is the same exact thing, isn't it? 20 times 1, 2, 3, 10 to the 4th power. What number is that? 10,000. Write that much down. Write that much down. Caden, what's my answer?
20,000.
That's what they want you to say. Huh?
200,000.
200,000.
It's just like
Okay, how we doing? And I'm thinking the next one we would just add another 0, so we're going to skip that one.
yeah, it's just
Let's go to the next page.
5, 7.
Okay, so let's look at this one. This is a little different.
It's the same page for us.
Oh, it's the same page for you. Okay, it's a different page for me. So Bryston, help me round 1,320. The 3 says stay the same, right? So we've got 1,000 times 90. 88 rounds to 90. I don't think I have to write anything down here. Do I? I mean, I could do 1 times 9 and do 9 times 10 to the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh.
4th power, right? So my answer is what? 90,000. Okay, we're about to run out of time, so I want to skip down to the bottom one. Okay, help me round this one. Round first, then multiply. Brendan, the 1 tells me to do what?
Stay the same.
So this will be flex your muscles like a hero. Okay, and then 880. Let me pull another stick. Hannah, the 8 tells me to do what? Add 1. So my 8 becomes, I'm having a hard time with my pen. Now flex your muscles like a hero. Digits to the right change to 0. So I have 3,000 times 900. Now let's write this down. 3 times 9, Eduardo. 27. Times. Brianna, how many zeros do you see? 5. 10 to the 5th power is what number? 100,000. Now be careful.
Make sure the 7 doesn't
So, Caitlin Willis, what's my answer here? Shh.
It's 2,700,000.
And do you see how I wrote it all down? Then I'm going to go back and do 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. You are correct, Caitlin. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead